Hey, everybody, welcome back to Peace Over Performance. I hope everybody's having a really good December. It is a tricky month, isn't it? Where essentially we really need to slow down. We need to take a break and regroup. And it never happens. December only gets busier and more hectic. So I hope this time together today is a way to help you allow your peace self, which is always worthy, loved, and learning to not only be the commander of your performance self, but the commander of December. I mean, I really do hope that you can step back with me and dive into the topic that we are about ready to get into. So, this is a really rich ground that we're stepping into with where we're going to go from today forward. And I'm going to create a little bit of a series out of this one because it's just, again, so central to the Peace Over Performance Walk. And this is essentially where we can find ourselves in life or where we can actually spend a lot of our life in this condition of truly, we know our performance demands better than we know ourselves. We know our performance demands of our life, our career, the people in our life, family, obligations better than we actually know ourselves. This is extremely common for all of us. And it's almost like, yeah, we belong to a performance, but we don't belong to us. And, I am going to now start pulling in resources and point to some things that can help you assemble this as we go forward. But if you think about it, let's just walk through life for a moment. Let's walk through life for a moment. So, when we are small and growing up and trying to fit into the world that we have been born into, be it family and friends and life as it is, there's this thing called, peer pressure, right? Peer pressure. And peer pressure is an interesting thing because it can be good. It forces us to adapt socially and to basically engage in things. And we meet our performance self pretty much right away. I mean, we meet our performance self trying to build friend groups, trying to get in activities at school, and where do we belong? And, in this world that we live in now, which is really taken off with social media for decades now. I don't know. How long has social media been around? It's been around for a while, but now it's, the age of the selfie and all of that that goes into it. There's this performance to everything. And we lock ourselves in to this peer pressure to make sure that we're fitting in. And as soon as we experience peer pressure, there is the performance self showing up. So whatever it is that you're getting involved with in your life at an early age, you're going to try to prove yourself worthy of being there through outside forces of peer pressure. And sometimes we can adapt well and really, the nature nurture thing, have really good experiences and gain confidence in ourselves through all of the performance experiences, which again, they're not bad. But what also can happen is we can begin ever so subtly to let the world and many other forces and people define us and not define ourselves. We can get caught up in doing things just to please our parents, to please our friends, to feel our sense of worth at a very young age. And I can think of things where, when I was little, I mean, I was trying to do things to be part of friend groups that really, I mean, I didn't really fit in. And it's because I didn't understand, of course, as a child, you don't, that there's reasons why I didn't fit into that friend group. But we ignore it and we push through it because, there's momentum that gets carried forward. So you can see situations like, we've all seen it, situations where people go to like the baseball or softball field and there's these out of control parents yelling at the coaches or yelling at the kids, because The kids are very aware. They're not just performing to play the game. They're performing to help their parents out, right? So all of that stuff happens at a young age. Or this can happen early on in life, or starting out. So in my coaching practice, my executive coaching practice, I get this great privilege to work with my clients that are typically already been well established in their careers. I mean, they have amazing leadership experiences. That's my typical, I work with corporate folks, and that's my typical place where I do executive coaching. Every once in a while, though, through these 18 years of executive coaching, I've had opportunities to work with some younger folks, people who are just starting out in life. Either they're in college. I mean, this isn't typical for me, but I've had this opportunity and it's really wonderful. They're in college, in university somewhere, or starting out in life somehow, or they're already just started. They've been working a few years in their very first job, and it's really interesting. And there is this sense sometimes of people selecting literally majors and careers because the influence their parents and people have had with expectations that this is what they should become. And we live in a society, a culture, particularly in the United States, but a culture of like, well, what do you do? That's our question, isn't we don't learn each other outside of our occupations, We we learn each other by the question, what do you do? And there's this extraordinary pressure for young people to pick the track, and it's getting complicated now with AI and everything going on. And so people can pick a lane, but not be sure that's the lane they should be in. And in fact, I worked with this young guy when I was living in Atlanta, and uh, he was very successful in his school career, right? He had great grades all his life, got into college, just did amazing in college. His father was a lawyer, and his parents really basically expected him to go to a top law school and were paying for it. I mean, and really pressuring him to get into law. And he did great on his law exams. I mean, he had no problem. He was able to get into law school. And he was in law school and he was having essentially an identity crisis because he hated it. He hated it. So at the time that I met him, he was waiting tables because he had to do this hard thing of coming to his parents and saying, "This isn't me. I don't want to be on this track." And he didn't know what the other tracks looked like, but he knew that he couldn't stay there because he was miserable. So, these are all the signs that we're dealing with our performance self, and in fact, other people owning our performance self, really putting pressure on it. And again, is performance a bad thing? No, it's critical. We can't even exist in life without performance. We have to have it. But we have just totally eliminated, in so many ways, the opportunity to have a touchstone back to our own selves and the understanding we need of ourselves to be able to navigate life. Uh, it's just it's almost it's interesting. So when I go into executive coaching engagements and we start to unpack how people are really wired, because executive coaches, we're certified in so many instruments. uh you learn about people's lives, and people don't know how to necessarily articulate their talent. They don't necessarily know how to articulate what they really need, and they haven't always thought enough about what's really important to them. But yet, they're in a full pitch life. They're giving everything they got, leaving it on the field. There's aspects of their work and things they care about and love, and obviously it provides for their family. But yet, there's a big portion of themselves they haven't met yet. Okay, and we keep going forward, we get to later in life, right? And suddenly we're getting close to retirement, or suddenly maybe there's empty nest situations happening. And I had someone the other day say to me, um, this was a past client. She was asked, you know, if, when she thought she might retire, and she's like, I don't even entertain that question. I can't even think of myself outside of what I do. I mean, she loves what she does, which is great, right? But we don't know who we are outside of all the things we lend our performance to, where our performance is demanded. Outside of that, we don't know. We don't know. And it's really unsettling and outright scary for many of us to confront that. Like, what am I? Who am I outside of my work? Who am I outside of being a parent? I mean, you can suddenly be, working, your whole life is busy. All you are doing is caring for elderly parents, caring for raising your kids and working. And it's suddenly your parent passes on to heaven, they die, your kids go off into their life, and your job is over. In other words, and then where are you? Who are you? So that it's interesting to me, the books that I have kept, right, that I like to go back to. Okay, so there is this one book. Um, it is the title of this book. I'll put it in the session notes here for you guys so you can look it up. It's The Power of Agency by Paul Napper and Anthony Rowe, Dr. Paul Napper, Dr. Anthony Rowe, PhDs. And so it's all about they wrote a book about the 7 principles to conquer obstacles, make effective decisions, and create a life on your own terms. Okay, so it's this sense of agency, and really, I think of it in the peace over performance walk as developing a agency with your peace self. You're always worthy, loved, and learning peace self. Developing that agency as you move through life. What we most of us do is we automatically uh, build our life on the things that the performance self does with the performance demands from everything that gets put into our life. And again, that's not totally bad. In a lot of ways, that can be really rewarding, but then it can also be a dangerous place to be because we don't, it's not sustainable through all of life's transitional seasons. It's not sustainable when the performance demands suddenly collapse. We get sick, we lose a job, we have to face a career change. I mean, we need the touchstone of agency with our peace self to navigate through all these things, right? I mean, we kind of know this, but the world will do everything basically, almost it feels like in its power to pull you away from learning this peace self and building agency with it. So, oh yeah. So we're back and we're in deep waters in another direction, right? I was setting up in the previous sessions, if you had a chance to listen to them, go in. I'm setting up some things, talking about the basics of peace or performance, which is peace, fueling performance, your peace self, always worthy, loved, learning, your performance self, responsible, determined at achieving. But if you're sitting here listening to this and you're, wherever you are in your life, and you're feeling like you don't feel as connected to what is demanded of you, but you know what's demanded, you're going to really like this work we're going to get ready to do. Okay, so this is from The Power of Agency from Dr. Napper and Dr. Rowe. So, a little bit of perspective. So, and I want to bring the word agency in because it's critical. And I like the way they define it. So, he says, what they say, what are the core features of agency? Agency is fundamentally the ability to slow things down, focus, and size up your current situation and make good decisions. I mean, isn't that, like this is really where peace self agency is so important because we have to be proactive if we can. Sometimes we can't, but it's ideal if we can. Proactive about these major decisions. When should I retire? Maybe we can't. Maybe when should I start looking for another job? What kind of job should I be looking for? All these things, right? All this stuff. So, okay. So, agency is fundamentally the ability to slow things down. So, you listen to their words here slow things down. In the performance self demanding world, just like I talked about December when I opened up here, there is no slowing down, you guys. There's no, you notice when we are in full throttle in our performance self life, it's it's going at high speed and no time to think, no time to reflect, no time to assess. Okay. So slow things down, focus and size up your current situation. I love these words. Size up your current situation. Some of us, and sometimes we don't know how to do it, and we are afraid to do it because what we could come out with the answer once we size it up is big decisions, right? This comes from developing your capacity to pause, reflect, and deeply consider the words. They have them in italics. Deeply consider where you find yourself. Who is you? Where are you? Where are you? In its highest form, agency allows you to step outside of yourself. See, and the way I'm terming this is step outside of your performance self. That's what I say. They said yourself. I said, so you know how this is just like splitting hairs. So stepping outside, I'll give language to this, your performance self, the responsible, determined, achieving performance self. And assess your quality and assess that. Listen to this, the quality of your own thinking and feelings, the quality of your own thinking and feelings. So when we are caught up in outside forces defining us through performance, and our performance self is just reactive and responding to it and trying to meet the standards and get the job done and da 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 da. Sometimes our quality of thinking isn't great because we're just in transactional response mode. We're saying yes, maybe you're a mom and you're volunteering for all these things, but you're not, thinking about the quality of how you want to really manage your life. You're not thinking about, and not because you're heartless, you're giving, right? But over giving, right? It's like you're not thinking about the quality of what needs to happen in your life, the quality for you, the quality for the relationships you want to have with your family. Let's keep going. So, and feeling, this is huge, quality of your feelings. The quality of your own thinking and feelings. So sometimes we won't let ourselves feel what we need to feel. We don't acknowledge what we're feeling and why we're feeling it. Why are we feeling this way? Why are we in perpetual stress? What's going on? That's a sign that we may be estranged to our peace self. Okay. And the tension just builds, doesn't it? And then they say this, of course, is my PhD friends will appreciate me reading from this. A concept that psychologists call metacognition. This is another way of saying the agency allows you to see your life accurately and envision it as it could be and plot the steps to get there. So, there's a lot coming at us, and we can believe that there's very little we can change. But what I have found in my 18 years learning so much from my amazing clients is we have more choices than we realize we actually have. In situations where we feel boxed in and stuck and like just pulled down the road at furious speed for performance demands, we actually have more options and choices than we think. And we have more agency over that than we realize. So, and they said, note some things that agency is not about. They say that it's not about productivity and not about high performance. Yeah, exactly. This is why I kept this book. I was like, sing it to the choir. You're singing to the choir here, fellas. Because your peace self is very much in the realm of being who you are, loving and accepting who you are, where you are as a starting point. The performance self without the peace self, the performance self estranged to the peace, is like, what am I doing? How am I doing it? When will I get it done? What needs to get done? Who's expecting me to do what? Right? It's all the doing side without the being. Okay. Okay. How do you know when you're lacking agency? The most common symptom is feeling stuck in an unsatisfying place, overwhelmed by everyday life, unable to clear your mind and organize your thoughts to figure out how to get unstuck. It often feels controlled and held back by outside forces. Your work situation, people in your family, or your community. Lack of agency involves experiencing considerable doubt about your proper place in the world. And how bizarre is it that we live in a world with the, the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with social media in all ways, that we can compare our own life to everybody's fronted performance, you know, you know, and there's never going to be good timing to change things either. That's that their timing is never going to be ideal. That's the other, that's the other kicker. Okay. They go on to say people often describe a sense of going through motions without a true direction or confidence in their future. And I would say in this, where the peace self takes you is having confidence in your current state, even though it's not ideal. Because the peace self focuses on learning what you're bringing to the table that's valuable. Have you ever, we have all meet people like this. We've probably all been people like this where we don't even realize the depth of value we bring to people. I've had people, I don't, it's just, I've had people say, oh, Amy, you've changed lives. I was like, really? But we don't even know. We don't even realize 100%. And I think it's true of all of us that we build more in the presence of just who we are, the presence of who you are without any production, without any performance, just the presence of who you are is the most valuable thing that is happening. The presence of who you are is the biggest asset. It's the most beautiful thing. So just being fully present to people is the glory. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Um, in more extreme cases, people say they feel they're drifting through life, right? And this is the interesting thing. So, the metaphor that I think about when you have your peace self engaged with your performance self is performance self is like the boat, and the peace self are the sails, right? And the sails, they're up, they're billowing, they're beautiful, and it just I wish I was a sailor now to be able to use this metaphor, but seriously, the sails, and it's the dance with the piece, the performance self, working with the wind and working with, sometimes, we don't have wind, but we know how to work the sails. We have the sails, because, and it's just present. It's just present. The peace self does something different to the performance self. This is going to be so much fun to get into, but you need the boat, right? You need to have performance to be on the water, to be in life. You need to have performance fundamentally, right? It's just what guides it. What guides it? Oh, we can go down that road. But it's like without it, it's just you're drifting and not truly connected to anyone, even friends or family. So, gosh, if you find yourself really like locked in with me right now on all this, we are going to take so good care of that, right? Because you're here always for a reason. Um, you're always here. You're here for an absolute reason. And like I say, this condition can hit us any point in life, or it can hit us, or it can be like with us. Like, in other words, it just is a condition that we are in. And I think I, I became an executive coach when I was in my early 40s, and it was a massive career change. And I had huge imposter syndrome when I started out. It was like, what am I doing? I mean, I had even people telling me, it was 2008. I mean, it was a really bad time. And I had people telling me, established coaches saying, you're crazy, we're getting out of it. I mean, I had other people who were it was just a really hard transition. Um, and I would just say this, that, you know, I didn't know me. I didn't know me. Uh, and I had to go, I think, through a lot of hard things. And I think it was really not until I got into my 50s, um, I I don't think it was until my 50s that I really developed an agency. Uh, and it's interesting because, of course, I have this thing where it would be nice if everybody could get executive coaching certifications and go through all the certifications I got through, only because the certifications, aside from what it needed to do to help me grow my practice, the most incredible thing about all of it is, and all the experiences with the engagements I had taught me about me. And ultimately, in tandem with my faith, taught me about my spirit. It's just incredible. So this is why I'm so humbled to be able to pull this together and give this all back to you guys. So what we're going to do as a series, this was just the setup today for it, is I am going to uh, walk you through uh, pulling out of this condition and developing the peace self-agency by way of mind, body, and spirit. So we're going to take them all separately. We're going to divide it up that way. We're going to go mind first, which is really going to be all about our personality, our thinking, and knowing ourselves as just who we really are and how important that is to shape the agency of the peace self. And then we're going to go into body. And it's interesting timing for me to talk about body because I'm so excited, you guys. I just lost 25 pounds. I'm so excited. I know. I've been wanting to lose this weight for years. It's a long story. I've been up and down with my weight, but I finally figured it all out, I think. And I'm really in a good place. And it's really forced me to get into a place of just talk about the body. And of course, I'm going to be pointing to resources that are much better than me on this stuff as we go through it. And then spirit, of course. I'm going to talk about spirit. I have to talk about faith. You've got to talk about it here. But mind, body, spirit in this peace, self, agency that we can come back to at different times in life. So that's what we're going to get into. Uh, I'm excited that you're with me, and this is going to be a nice way to transition and shut down 2025 and move to 2026 and maybe get your mind off of whatever is happening in the world. That's crazy, crazy town, this world. You're going to come be in your peace self with me, right? Just don't doom scroll. Stay with me. Scroll through all my other YouTubes. Okay. I love you guys. I love you. I hope you have beautiful holidays, however you celebrate. I hope you have a joyous time with family. And yeah, slow down. Slow down. Let your peace self take command of December. Okay, talk to you soon.